I don't agree with animal cruelty. I'm a vegetarian. I don't think any method which involves pain for the animal is good or should be allowed to happen. I am a vegetarian and I don't agree with animal cruelty, and I don't agree with pain, inflicting pain on animals. The only reason that they exist is that they have been genetically modified and changed in order to be what they are now. People should stop eating meat. Being raised a vegetarian, like my mum's been a vegetarian for ages, I just kind of grew up with the image in my head being like, oh well, like sausages and bacon and, you know, a lot of pork and beef in particular, like that was an animal that once lived, you'd be eating flesh and stuff like that, and I can't personally tell, and I'm kind of getting traumatized.
Generally, it's being recorded.
Hello.
It's obviously about the RSPCA, so it's generally animal related.
Yeah.
I'll give you some statements and then get your opinions on these.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first animal, or animals, chickens and turkeys. Okay?
Yeah.
So, the statement. Young chickens and turkeys, because they're held in confined spaces, they quite often have their beaks trimmed to avoid them pecking each other and harming one another. The process, it does have the potential to cause significant pain and suffering, although the RSPCA will openly admit they don't like this process and want to phase it out. They do still permit it as long as it's performed by a trained professional. Do you think that process can ever be justified?
No.
No?
No, I don't agree with animal cruelty.
No?
At all. I'm a vegetarian, so...
Science? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, might come back to that in a second. Okay, so I have a feeling I might know the answers to these. So the next one is chickens, baby chicks.
Yes, I know all about them being processed and...
What do you know about it so far?
That as soon as they're hatched, they're sorted into male and female, aren't they? And then the ones that are unwanted are just churned, like
In a macerator.
Yeah.
Yep. So the first half of this was that statement that they're basically just sorted out onto conveyor belts up to the big macerator.
Yeah.
However, the RSPCA don't approve that way. Now, the RSPCA approved chicks are actually gassed using argon. So this process takes no longer than 6 minutes for the chicks to suffocate to death, obviously sometimes less. Do you think that's a better method?
No.
No?
I don't think any method which involves pain for the animal is good or should be allowed to happen.
Okay. This one might be a bit more interesting.
Okay.
Male dairy calves.
Okay.
So, because they're useless to the industry and it's a different breed to the beef cattle,
Yeah.
the first bit is non-RSPCA, then you've got RSPCA after.
Yeah.
So the two most humane, inverted commas, ways of disposing of unwanted calves is to either hit them with a blunt instrument, typically a spade, or bolt gun them in the head, usually on their first day of life. Now, the RSPCA actually prefers farmers to use electrical stunning methods. Now, this process reduces the ineffectiveness down from 14% to just 10%. This means out of the roughly 9,500 calves that are put down each month in the UK,
Yeah.
only 950 of them aren't killed outright. What do you think of that process?
What's the percentage again? Sorry.
It's about 10. It reduces it down to about 10%, because obviously they're struggling and moving around and that sort of thing while it's happening.
Right. I think that method, it sounds kinda.
Kind of on the electrical stunning.
Yes, I mean, does it? I mean, I don't know the inner workings of it.
No,
I'm not going to pretend like I know something that I don't.
No.
But does it involve less pain? Is it seen as like a kind of treatment?
It's like getting a massive electric shock. So you get what's going on and dying.
Right.
Rather than a bolt gun, which, I mean, I'm not going to say one is better than the other because I don't think either are good.
No.
But bolt gun has a lower effectiveness rates, but arguably possibly puts them down quicker. Anyway, that's just the information.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final one is pigs. Okay.
Yes.
So I know you're obviously vegetarian, but you may know, you may not know. If I say the statement, how do you think? If you know what is it? If you don't know, what would you guess is how they dispose of pigs in the UK, or most commonly dispose of pigs, I should say.
Slaughter? Do they slit their throats?
No.
I don't know.
They're too big and got too much
muscle
going around here. Yeah. I believe that's the reason why. Yeah. Okay, so the RSPCA approved way of killing pigs in the UK is to actually send them into this applies to 88% of pigs in the UK. Okay, if not more.
Yeah.
Minimum 88%. Is to actually send them into a CO2 gas chamber.
Oh my god.
Okay. Now CO2 is an aversive gas, a bit like the sensation, I guess, would be when you have a can of Coke and it goes up the wrong way and you kind of burns your nose a little bit. Yeah. So it's an aversive gas. It actually forms an acid on their eyes and in their lungs, essentially burning the pigs from the inside out. It takes no longer than 3 minutes for the pigs to die that way, often as little as 30 seconds. Do you think that's acceptable?
No, but then again, I don't like to argue that something isn't right without having a solution
Sure.
to it. Because
I feel
otherwise
like you've had a solution to it.
Me?
Because you said you're vegetarian, so I'm assuming you don't eat pigs.
No, I don't.
So there's a solution to it.
Yes, and I am a vegetarian, and I don't agree with animal cruelty, and I don't agree with pain, inflicting pain on animals. However, I am aware of the fact that like the other side of it is that pigs, chickens, and cows have been bred as livestock, and that is the only reason that they exist, is that they've been genetically modified and changed in order to be what they are now. So it's just like, if we didn't kill them, it's so horrible to say, because it's like I get both sides. What would happen? What would be? I mean, I mean, for example, I'd be asking you a question. How would you, deal with all those animals which no one would eat anymore?
So it's a very common thought. Do you understand? And I'm not saying a silly thing, but you understand how supply and demand works.
Yes.
Yeah. So essentially, when you're buying something, you're voting for more of it with your money. So if I went into a shop and bought a steak, I'm essentially saying to that shop, please go and kill another animal, put them through what this animal went through, to replace the one I just purchased.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the way this works with regard to the number of animals that are out there is that if it's all about money. It's all 100% about money. So let's use a very simplistic version. If I was a farmer and I farm 100 pigs, and I've got 100 customers for those 100 pigs, they buy those 100 pigs and I go and make 100 more, because they're not natural, they're forcibly made. They forcibly impregnate the mother. Now, if half of those people stop buying those pigs from me, I'm not going to replace the 10 more or 100 more, because I'm going to have too many pigs.
But you'd probably go to a different supplier, wouldn't you?
But if you're talking on a global scale, so on a global scale, there is, like I said, on the...
Or just international.
Yeah. So basically, the more people that refuse to buy those products, the less of those products are being made.
So you think that that people? I mean, I completely agree. People should stop eating meat and go for either a substitute. I mean, it's like cloning meat is becoming a bigger industry, and that's becoming really popular. So,
definitely. So
letting animals die of old age, is that what you think would be?
So let's put it in a different perspective. So give you an idea of numbers. Approximately worldwide, land animals, not including fish is just crazy numbers, it's trillions and trillions. So land animals, roughly 88, if not higher than now, 88 to 90 billion land animals are put down every single year. Now, if half the population stopped buying them, they would not breed that many animals, and that number would go from 88 to 44 billion.
Yes.
Because there's no point in a farmer forcibly impregnating a mother if no one's going to buy the result of it.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So what happens over time? So it's not going to be a click. The whole world stops buying animals. What we're going to do with all the animals? It's going to be a process where it's 1%, 5%, 10%, 20% of the population, and as that number increases, the number of animals being put through this horror system will go down. So there won't be this excess of animals out there. Yeah. It's just
Exactly.
So it's just supply and demand. So, you said you're vegetarian, so is it only dairy and eggs you're consuming, or is it just dairy, or?
It's kind of like I do consume a bit of milk and cheese and eggs and stuff, just because it's good protein, but I always try and get it from very well sourced.
What was the reason you went vegetarian?
I was raised a vegetarian.
You were raised vegetarian?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the reason you decided not to switch when you got older? Being raised a vegetarian, like my mum's been a vegetarian for ages. I just kind of grew up with the image in my head being like, oh well, like sausages and bacon and a lot of pork and beef in particular. Yeah.
Like that was an animal that once lived, you'd be eating flesh and stuff like that, and I can't personally.
Sure.
Eat it. But I have no problem with other people eating it. I just
don't want to
I just mind my own business.
Fair enough. So I did touch on one element of it in those questions, but the actual dairy industry as a whole, do you know much about the process or kind of what happens to get the milk at the end of it? Some bits.
Not a whole lot.
Can I give you an incredibly abridged version?
Of course.
Yep. Why do cows produce milk?
To feed their calves.
Exactly. Because it's an industry, farmers can't leave this all to chance or nature or anything like that at all. So the first thing that has to happen is that they have to make the cow pregnant. Yep. Yeah. So, first thing that happens is that she doesn't want this to be happening to her, so that she's confined typically in a cage. There is a particular name for this type of cage, which I won't say out loud, while she's struggling. Now, part of it you might have seen on TV even. They put the big long gloves on the farmer, and he puts a fist into the anus, and he actually holds up her cervix. Okay? And with the other hand, he gets a big needle injection, and he injects her with the bull semen. Okay? And if it was in a human context, you know what that'd be called.
Yeah.
So, the way they get the bull semen, there's a step before this. To get the bull semen in itself is just grim. So they either use an electrical ejaculator, basically, like a huge dildo, goes up the bull's anus to make him ejaculate, or they do it manually, which is exactly what it sounds like. That's how they get the bull semen in the first place. Okay, so she then becomes pregnant, not wanting to happen. She's then let go, and the cow's reproductive cycle is roughly the same as a human's. So it takes about 9 months for her to give birth to the calf. Yep. She gives birth to the calf, and cows, out of all the animals, cows are pretty much one of the most maternal animals that out there. They love their children. They might, like a human, would love their baby. Yep. So they're really looking forward to seeing their child. However, the calf is born, and rather than having the chance to be with their child, because we want the milk, the calf gets taken away. Now, the mother, you can imagine how if this happened to a human, you've got mental anguish, you just be like, I need my baby, I want my baby, I want my baby. Yeah. They start crying. They don't call it crying, they call it lowing. So they start crying for their baby, wanting their baby returned, typically for up to 3 weeks, days and days and days, but up to 3 weeks. It's really sad and sound as you can possibly imagine.
I completely get why you're saying this.
Mm-hmm.
You said it was brief.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
You're going into immense detail, and I'm kind of getting traumatized.
Okay, let me give you.
Which I know is kind of like what you're trying to do, but.
So, well, all that happens. So that's kind of the worst of it.
Okay.
But then, so the baby's taken away. She's upset, traumatized, and then about a year later, milk starts drying up, and she has to go through that process again and again and again. And after 3 times, she can't cope anymore. She collapses on the ground. They call it a spent heifer, or she just stops producing milk. At that point, she's then no longer profitable. No point keeping her alive because it's too much money. Send her off to a slaughterhouse, typically for cheap meat, or like dog meat, cat meat, that sort of thing. Okay, and this is all because we want a bit of milk, a bit of cheese. When you've got soya, coconut, almond, cashew, pea milk now, you've got potato milk now. There's literally hundreds almost of different types of milks. Rather than having the cow's milk, which is what meant to be for the baby calf. And as I said in the thing there, if it's a male calf, it's typically killed on its first day of life too. And what a horrific life that must be for that mother. Yeah, and that's because but I like cheese, and there's so many alternatives out there. This isn't to make you feel guilty, because I did it myself for a really long time, okay, till I was a lot older than what you are, okay? But it's something that people don't know, and why would you guess people don't really know this information? What would you think the reason why?
It's not talked about.
It's kept quiet.
It's swept under the carpet.
Yep, there's a lot of whitewashing as well. If you look at all the adverts on TV, for example, all your posters, it's all happy hens, happy eggs, happy cows, loving their life in the field. There's not a single male out there, they're all females, because you don't have the males. Yeah. So, do you think, you said for protein, and obviously it's really important to get your nutrients and stuff like that, do you think there's alternative ways to get your proteins and things like that?
Yes, but I would be lying if it, was easy. In other ways, it's like you'd have to have a significant amount of other things in order to get the same level of protein. I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just.
So it's a slight misconception. So there is definitely a wrong way of doing it. So the wrong way of doing it is to say, I'm no longer going to have these products, and then you get ill because you're nutrient deficient. Yeah, that's the wrong way of doing it. The right way of doing it, if you look at things like all your beans, your chickpeas, your lentils, all your legumes, really massively high in protein. If you look at tofu, you can get tofu drinks, soy drinks, really, really high in protein with all your vitamins and minerals.
It's been wonderful chatting.
Can I give you a card for some resources?
Yes,
yeah?
Sure.
So all I would say is that the whole idea is, like I say, it's meant to be thought-provoking. Hopefully it's something you're going to carry on thinking about a bit later on.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And all I would say is that it's dead easy to change. Really, really, really easy. I know you think it's difficult, but if you look at it from
not really.
No, it's literally the next aisle in the supermarket.
Yeah.
And if you look at the nutrient differences, and think about what the milk is. Not the horrible stuff, but you think what milk is actually meant to do? It's meant to get a mammal from a different species that's tiny, huge.
It's meant to give the baby all the nutrients it needs in order to.
Exactly. If it was human milk, people would be grossed out, but actually that'd be probably better for us.
I have that thought quite often, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So please do have a think about it.
Thank you.